I am a leaf on the wind, watch me podcast. Welcome to part 2 of our episode on the beloved sci-fi western series Firefly. If you haven't listened to part 1, we do a deep dive on the show's creator, Joss Whedon, and a recap and discussion of every episode of the show, including a lot of behind-the-scenes facts and trivia about the show. In this episode, we'll cover the 2005 sequel movie Serenity. Get ready for some thrilling heroics on this episode of Blind Spots and Second Thoughts. So, even though Firefly didn't have a long life on television, the DVD sales were incredibly strong. In fact, pre-orders sold out in 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
And the fan base was very fervent. In fact, at one point, to try and save the show, they took out a full-page ad in Variety.
Okay.
So, because of that, even though the show was canceled, Universal Pictures acquired the rights to make the movie on a fairly modest budget, as I mentioned earlier, $39 million. The movie had to serve as both a wrap-up and closure for the beloved cult series that began and ended in 2002, but also be welcoming to new folks who completely missed the show, like myself. Mm-hmm. And this was Whedon's first attempt at making a feature film with everything that entailed. So, knowing all of this, coming from having just binged the show Firefly, knowing we are about to watch the 2005 sequel movie Serenity, what do you expect from the movie?
Well, we mentioned the Reavers before, that they were set up as a menacing force that nothing ever really come. We get a little bit, and it seemed like that was, what are they, a race of, or are they just...
I guess we'll find out.
A group of people. Anyway, it seemed like it was being set up to have them interact with the crew of Serenity. So I think that's probably going to happen. Inara had said that she wanted to leave Serenity. So I think that may be a storyline that isn't in the movie. I would maybe suspect. We need to find out a little bit more about what is going on with River and what happened to her. We also need to know, what is Book's deal? Because he is able to, what is it exactly that happens where showing his credentials...
got him his medical help from the Alliance cruiser.
Yes, and I think Mal says something to him like, you're going to have to explain to me why that worked. And he said, and I will sometime. Mm-hmm. So I think that's probably going to come back in the movie. And then we have some romantic storylines. Inara and Mal, Kaylee and Simon. Mm-hmm. Zoe and Wash were talking about having a baby. So maybe there will be some pregnancy. Those are my guesses based on the show.
I think those are all fairly good guesses. I think some of those things you will be surprised and delighted by, and some of those things you might be a little frustrated by, but I'm excited to watch Serenity. It's been a little while since I've watched the movie. Usually I watch it after I watch the show, and it's been a while since I've watched the show. So I'm looking forward to watching it. Any other thoughts before we get in?
No, I am also looking forward to watching it because I like that it exists to tie up, I hope, all of these things that were left outstanding.
Okay, well, let's watch the movie.
Thanks for taking us in again, Shepard.
You got a plan?
Hiding in a plan?
It'll do you for a spell. The folks here will be glad of the extra coin.
But the Alliance will be coming. And they're after this girl with a powerful will. Look to hear the trump of their boots any moment.
You won't. This isn't a palms-up military run now. No reports Broadway. No warrants. Much as they want her hid. That means closed file. Means an operative. Which is trouble you've not known.
I could have left her there. I had an out. Hell, I had every reason in the verse to leave her lay and haul anchor.
It's not your way, Mal.
I have a way. That better than a plan?
Only one thing's gonna walk you through this map. Belief.
So, Heather, that was Serenity.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think?
I am furious.
I'm sorry.
I am livid.
It is a regular internet meme where someone mentions something about Wash's death or I am a leaf on the wind.
It was so cute and funny. And then
It was
catastrophe. Brutal. Here's my big issue with it. My biggest issue is that was my favorite character, and I love Alan Tudyk.
I think Wash is everybody's favorite character.
Not
mostly.
surprising. Well, and that kind of leads into my other issue with it, which is that it felt unearned. It felt like it was just for reaction. Like, I don't know why that had to happen. I'm a horror movie fan. I enjoy, there are movies that I like where characters die, and sometimes that is necessary to serve the plot, and that did not feel necessary to serve the plot.
I think that's a fair criticism. So I've heard two things about Wash's death. One is, well, aside from the fact that Joss Whedon kind of has a reputation for brutally killing off fan favorite characters. Apparently, it's also a thing that he did in Buffy and Angel. So that's not a terribly uncommon thing for him to do as a writer.
And, you know, some of the things that we were talking about in the intro about him wanting to have power over people and being a bully, like that tracks with that. To be like, I'm going to make you love these characters, but then I'm going to take them away from you because I have the ability to do that.
I wouldn't necessarily say that that's the motivation. But I have heard two things about Wash's death. One is that he wanted to give people the impression that this was going to be something like, minor spoilers, Rogue One. Like, these characters are going to be in dire straits and they might not actually make it. At that point, Shepherd Book had already died. And so you might get the sense that when Zoe goes down, when Simon goes down, that they might not be making it out either. So having Wash die does give you a lot of extra tension. From my perspective, remember, I saw Serenity before I saw the show, and there's enough of Wash in the movie that you get to like him, and his sudden death is still very shocking. Once you've had 15 hours of time with Wash and you've spent a lot more time with him, his death is that much more awful, especially when you really have a sense for his and Zoe's relationship, his relationship with the rest of the crew, what he's like as a character, what he's been through. So it does make his death hit a lot harder. I think it's a fair criticism to say it's not an impactful death. I would say
in terms of the story.
Yeah, I would say the devil's advocate argument, not that I necessarily believe this, but the devil's advocate argument would be that deaths in war are often sudden and senseless. And when you're in a battle or something like that, not every death is going to feel earned and heroic. That's not necessarily good storytelling. So I think that that's a fair criticism. The second thing I've heard, and I haven't been able to substantiate either way, is that for whatever reason, Ron Glass and Alan Tudyk were unable to sign up for potential sequels. So Universal, when they got everybody to do contracts for the movie, thought, hey, if this thing is massively successful, we might make a whole franchise out of this and we might make more movies. That obviously didn't happen. So there was an original draft, which Joss Whedon called the kitchen sink draft of the movie. And in the kitchen sink draft, everyone survived, but when they needed to strip things down and actually get it down to a makeable movie, someone suggested that one of the ways you can raise stakes is to kill some characters, and Ron Glass and Alan Tudyk are not available for the sequels. So if you're going to kill someone, so it wasn't necessarily out of malice or picking names out of a hat or anything like that. It might have been a combination of I'm raising the stakes, and also the studio says maybe go ahead and kill these guys off because they can't come back for the sequels. So I don't know how verifiable that is or how substantial that is. And the way that you're looking at me right now says that doesn't help either.
No.
It's still a very fresh wound for you.
It really is. And I'm mad at you because I need to be mad at someone.
I saw a panel with Nathan Fillion and Alan Tudyk, and Nathan Fillion told a joke. He said, "How does a reaver clean their spears?
How?
They put it through the wash."
That is pretty funny. It hurts my heart that Wash died and that Shepherd Book died because I also really like him.
Yeah.
And fucking Jane gets to live. It's insult to injury.
Yeah. Well, and that's fair. Canonically, because there are comic books that fill in some of the stories. So there are comic books that fill in some of the things between the movie and the TV show and continue on after the movie as well. Canonically, Zoe was pregnant. So Wash does have a kid. So.
Yeah. I was surprised that didn't end up being the case in the movie. And that leads me to my general impression of the movie, which is that I'm a little disappointed. I feel like it was unsatisfying in a lot of ways. And not that it's not just that I'm like, well, I predicted these things were going to happen and then most of them didn't happen. But it is sort of that too, because it's like all of these things were teed up. And then I feel like it was
I think that's fair. Your opinion is not unique.
Okay.
There are a lot of people who feel the same way in the Firefly fandom. I have a little bit different perspective on it because, like I said, I saw Serenity first.
Yeah.
As a standalone movie, it actually works pretty well. As a last episode of this series, it does feel like it's missing a little bit. There's more emphasis on action than the drama that's characteristic of Firefly. Some of the characters are just kind of there. Like everybody gets a little bit of moment, but not a lot. Like Inara, once she's with the crew, she doesn't really have anything to do. She gets a cool sort of bow weapon.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, but like other than just being there for the rest of the movie, she doesn't really contribute anything.
I felt like the dynamic between a lot of the characters, particularly between Mal and several of the characters, felt off.
You're not wrong there either. It feels like some of the relationships, especially Mal and Simon, had to get maybe set back a little bit. I think part of that might be the necessity of writing for a new audience, for people who hadn't seen the show.
Yeah.
And I will say I've watched Serenity after watching Firefly before, but I don't know if I've watched it so close to ending the show before. And that has a tendency to magnify the flaws with the movie, because if you've got some time, if it's been, it had been a couple of years since the end of the show for fans to come back to it when it came out. But even if you have, a few weeks, a few months in between when you've watched the show and when you watch the movie, I don't think all of those things will stand out so much. But when you're watching it right after the show as a last episode, yeah, the flaws in the movie stand out. The differences stand out. There's a couple of things that kind of make you go, I think you're right. I think it is as a closure to this story, to these awesome characters that people have really loved over a season of television, half a season of television anyway. I think it mostly works, but it is off. It's definitely missing something. It's not as satisfying as you would want it to be if it were a series finale a proper series finale, you would be able to take all of the time they spend on reestablishing things and maybe give some of the other characters more time and more closure. When you compare and contrast it to the episode Serenity, the pilot, the pacing is dramatically different because Serenity, the movie, is an action movie first and foremost. And it's really, it chugs along. It takes place in the course of a couple of days at most, which is factoring in travel time. So the action is fast. It's just right there. You're right in the middle of it. And
it's how long did you say? What'd you say?
It takes place over the course of a couple of days.
Yeah,
and that's
okay.
just factoring in travel time that they gloss over. So it doesn't have that same, it doesn't have the same pace, and
it's
it
not
doesn't
a comfortable blanket.
Did you have any other thoughts?
I mean, those, maybe you're right that it is just very fresh, that I was very upset. I mean,
You told me to stop the movie.
I did. I said, stop. I don't want to finish it. And in my notes, I wrote, I don't even care anymore. And then I think after that, and there's probably like a half an hour left of the movie.
There's about half an hour left. Yeah.
I think I took 4 notes because I was seething. I was glad to find out what the Reavers were. But again, even the other stuff that I predicted, like, okay, so Kaylee and Simon, they get together. Mal and Inara, no.
Still leave it open.
It's open. Zoe's not pregnant in the movie.
Yeah.
And unless I missed it, we don't find out what the deal was with Book.
Nope.
Also, I did not love that we get so little of him.
Yeah.
And again, it really is, I think, watching the movie immediately after finishing the series. I mean, we finished the series and then the next night we watched the movie. And when the show ends, first of all, Mal's on pretty good terms with everybody, including Simon. So that whole thing where they're really at odds and antagonistic toward each other feels really out of character. But also, Book's on the ship and he's part of the gang. And then in the movie, he's somewhere else and we get him for a tiny little bit and then he dies. So I wasn't thrilled with that. And I really wanted to know what the deal was with him and why his credentials convinced an Alliance guy to give him medical treatment.
I haven't read it, but there is a comic book called A Shepherd's Tale that does, I believe, answer some of those questions. I don't know how satisfyingly, but it does exist. So there are, in theory, some answers.
All right. Well, those are my general thoughts. I mean, I was feeling some of these things throughout the whole movie, the oddness of some of the relationships and noticing that we were not getting a ton of Book. And these things were definitely on my mind as I was watching the movie, but I was still enjoying it. And it really, Wash's death then really soured all of that other stuff for me because it just upset me so much that I was like, I wasn't that bothered by the other issues, but then I was just like, and then it ended and I was like, a lot of stuff did not get resolved in a way that I was hoping that it would. And so I think overall I was just disappointed. But I think maybe if I give it some time and then watch it again and I'm able to brace myself for the deaths, I might feel differently. But right now I'm just mad.
That's fair. And honestly, that is something that I think anyone who is a fan of Firefly felt the first time they saw the movie. So you are not alone.
Okay.
That's
reassuring to me.
There are thousands and thousands of people who feel the exact same way as you. I think one of the things that stood out to me more this time, especially coming on the heels of the TV show, was the increased budget was interesting and that the world feels more busy, but it came at a cost of, it felt like they sacrificed a little bit of the character of the show. The show has this very scrappy backlot Western, we're kind of bootstrapping everything together feel, which is more or less what it was the Alliance soldiers in the show are wearing costumes from the movie Starship Troopers.
Oh, really?
They're very distinct and very recognizable. So anytime you see the Alliance troopers, the ones who are wearing helmets, those are straight from Starship Troopers.
I never saw that.
So they upgraded a lot of things. The Alliance finally gets proper uniforms of their own, but it felt like a lot of the Western character got taken out. And I do remember coming away from Serenity the first time I saw it and still getting that Western vibe, but it feels way diminished in the movie now, especially, like I said, right after the show. It felt more just kind of generic science fiction-y, generic cyberpunk with a bit of a Western twist as opposed to cowboys and spaceships.
Yeah, it's a little slicker, I think.
It is. It's definitely slicker, but just some of the other touches, it seems like there are things like Mal's suspenders changed. So he's got they're more like future suspenders instead of his classic regular brown suspenders. Some of the other costumes, Simon is, I think, wearing a sweater for most of the movie. He's not wearing his normal suits and he's not looking super dapper. He is wearing a sweater. So things like that definitely contrast the texture of the show. And so it's like there's more detail, but the detail feels a little wrong.
This ties into the same kind of issue that I have with reboots, remakes, sequels, and all that kind of stuff. As I've mentioned before, I'm not really one of those people who gets super excited about, they're bringing back some show from, the 90s or the 2000s, even though I'm a very nostalgic person, but I'm always disappointed because they never capture what made it magic in the first place. And this is a little bit different, but it's also the same in that it was a different medium. And so they did things different. And just because you can doesn't mean you should.
They didn't have an unlimited budget. It was still a pretty modest budget for a science fiction movie. Apparently, they didn't even have access to the plans from the original set. The original set got struck and they had to rebuild the set by pausing the DVD of the show. So they would go back and watch the show and pause it. And that's how they had to reconstruct the set.
Wow. The ship was so much bigger. Like all of the sets just looked so...
What's funny is it wasn't significantly bigger. It was part of that they just had more room to move the cameras around or more budget to set for bigger setups.
So much more spacious to me, which I didn't like because there wasn't the same kind of coziness of, when they're in like the dining area and they're all sort of on top of each other. And then there were some shots of it in the movie where it just felt so big to me.
Yeah. Mal's I aim to misbehave speech with the sun coming in. It's a very beautiful shot, but it also makes Serenity feel, I don't know, it's not the same as the show because they never had any kind of sunlight in the ship, really in the show. Another thing that felt off is the original composer was missed, I think. I think the music for Serenity is fine, but it just doesn't have quite the character of the show's music. What I found online is that Joss Whedon wanted the show's original composer to come back, but he had not done movies before, and that made Universal execs nervous. So yeah, gotta have experience to get a job, but can't get the job without experience.
And he had experience with this property.
Yeah.
That should have been enough.
Joss Whedon wanted to go with Carter Burwell, who had done the score for Fargo, which to me has a very similar feel to Firefly. The scores for Fargo and Firefly are similar. But apparently they didn't quite work together well. I think Burwell said something about it wasn't his normal way of working or something like that. I don't know what exactly happened, but the short version was that he dropped out and they had to just find someone who could deliver the score on time. So they found the fellow who did the score for the movie, and it's fine. It's nothing. It's not bad, but it's also not particularly outstanding in any kind of way. It's just there.
Really notice it.
Well, any thoughts before we get to the recap?
Nope. Let's get to the recap.
So the movie starts strong with the Universal logo going right into the expository flashback, talking about Earth that was and everyone who left. And that turns into a lesson flashback with a young River Tam. But that turns into a dream sequence with River Tam being tortured and experimented on by evil Alliance scientists. And that turns into a security feed playback being watched by the operative, who we'll get to in a second. I will say, I think that that's a really ingenious structure for both getting to the action quickly and
exposition.
Yeah, it's a lot of exposition in a very fast way, but it's done in a way that's easy to follow and it's clever. It feels propulsive, and it's a really fantastic cold open to the movie.
I agree.
We see when Simon rescued River from the Alliance.
We do, and we learn that he knew that she was being turned into a weapon.
That is a bit of a retcon, I believe. I imagine that that's just for the movie, that works shorthand for the movie. But the fact that they weren't sure about her, because and at the end of the show, when everyone starts thinking that maybe she's a reader, it's a bit of a revelation. And I believe Simon's a little skeptical about it. Mm-hmm. But yes, in this one, he straight up uses the word psychic.
Yeah. So that was the first moment where I was like, what?
Mm-hmm. I think it's a good scene. But it's definitely some things they had to shortcut for the movie and for new audiences. So after the rescue, then we are introduced to Chiwetel Ejiofor. Is that how you pronounce it?
I believe so.
Okay.
Chiwetel Ejiofor
as the operative. This was the first thing I had ever seen him in, because I don't think I saw Love Actually until quite a bit later, actually. I might be wrong. But if he's barely in Love Actually. He's not really a big part of it.
He's getting nothing.
Go on. He's getting cucked by The Walking Dead.
He's getting cucked, yeah.
But this was the first thing I had really seen him in, and I think this might be one of his bigger early roles. He is fantastic in this. He plays the part of the operative so well, because it's not even that he's cold. He's not a cold, calculating villain. He is playing the part almost as though he's pained by what he has to do, but he's still going to do it anyway because he's got this conviction. And he is a fascinating antagonist. And he is one of I think probably the bright spot of the movie, and a really great example of how you can introduce an antagonist who is a black man who is not sexually threatening your characters, or even though he's doing awful things, he's menacing, but he's menacing in a way that's not problematic.
Yeah.
And so, Joss Whedon should take notes from Joss Whedon. Although it probably doesn't matter, because Joss Whedon's probably not going to work anymore because of Joss Whedon.
Yeah.
We learned that River is apparently 17.
Yeah.
So I was a little off. I thought she was a little older.
I thought she was too. And I don't know if that's just because you told me that she was, or I thought there might have been a reference to her age in the show and that she was 19, but she's 17.
Maybe not. Oh, I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Chiwetel Ejiofor, the operative, confronts the scientist who was working on River and says, after watching the replay, repeats the phrase, "key members of Parliament because key members of Parliament were there and observed River. River knows their secrets. So the operative has been dispatched to clean up. And one of the ways he does this is by taking out his security guards with a sword in a pretty, I think, good action scene, and then hitting the scientist in a way, in a bullshit movie nerve cluster kind of way that makes him seize up and then puts a sword in front of him that he then falls on.
It was cool.
It was cool. It's a good sequence. I like that he is, while he's killing the guy, he's having a conversation with him and telling him this is a good death. But then also he's calling after his assistant and saying, young miss, I need you to get these records. And just being completely blasé about it. He's a really good villain.
He's a really good actor.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
So then it cuts to the title sequence of the movie. So that was the cold open. We see the title card turns into the name of the ship on Serenity. We see the upgraded Serenity. Serenity does look a lot nicer here. The special effects the VFX are dramatically improved. And there's a big ol' one take shot that follows Mal through the ship, reintroducing you to the crew while they are flying through and preparing for a job.
I have a note here that says, Jane, I want you to explode.
That's the, oh God, we're all going to die.
Maybe.
Oh yeah, because Mal gets on the intercom and says, we might explode. And he says something like that. And then Jane just sticks his head out and he goes, I don't want to explode.
Oh yeah, okay. And then I said, I want you to explode.
So reintroduced to the Firefly crew, they are going to rob an Alliance payroll for private security on one of the outer worlds. So they pull just a straight up heist and they take River with them. This is the first time they're taking River on a job. River is helpful. She does identify someone who I believe they're about to pull a gun, and River identifies them.
She's like, it was Glenn Howerton.
Yeah.
He did it. He has a gun.
It actually was Glenn Howerton. One of the things I did like about this movie and the show in general, but the movie really did utilize Summer Glau's physicality as a dancer.
Yes.
Which is why he cast her in the first place. I think that was the idea, was as the show went on, they would use that more and more. And, you know, the show did stuff where sometimes she would be standing in weird ways or moving through the ship in kind of an ethereal way. But here they really used her physicality just in how she moved in the ship. The scenes when she's hiding on the ceiling a couple of times.
Yeah, she really looks like a ballerina. In those shots.
When the heist goes down, I did note the action scenes are a little better because sometimes the action scenes on the show were a bit cheesy. They felt a bit like
an
18.
Charm.
This was mostly good, except for the one thing I really don't like now is there's a part where Jane clotheslines a guy and he does a complete 180 flip and ends up upside down, and then Jane like tombstones him and drops him on his head. And I'm like, it does not look like a real move.
No.
And it's not like Jane is supposed to be a superhero or anything like that.
Certainly not.
That was definitely silly. So while the crew is robbing the vault, I do like them having the conversation with the guy in the vault where first of all, he's like, I'm going to need your password. And they just shoot some bullets. And he's like, okay.
Yeah. Come down.
Then they're having the conversation and you can hear Mal is discussing where the best place to shoot him is. That makes it look like he put up a fight.
Yeah. That's pretty funny.
But that's when River feels the Reavers arriving.
Say that 10 times fast.
I will not.
Okay.
The Reavers come in, and this is the first time we've seen real Reavers, actually. The only other time we saw anything close is the victim from Bushwhacked.
Yes. It was scary.
Who was his own guy. Yeah, the makeup's pretty gnarly. You don't get a lot of good close-ups on him because PG-13.
And it would ruin the effect, probably.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of them where you're just like, oh, like their faces are like peeled back. It's pretty pretty gnarly. The crew manages to escape after telling everyone to get in the vault and hide from the Reavers, but they are chased down by Glenn Howerton, who is begging them to take him with them for some reason.
Yeah, why? And also, that's really bold of him, considering that wasn't he like
about to shoot them?
About to shoot them. It makes no sense. This is 2005, this movie?
Yes.
That is the same year that It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia started.
And there's actually a connection. Did you know that Marina Baccarin was in the, I believe, like proto-pilot? It wasn't the actual pilot. So how familiar with the show are you?
It's Always Sunny?
Yeah.
Oh, I watched like 14 seasons.
There's a plot about one of them being attracted to a very attractive trans woman.
Yes.
That's in the filmed episode, in the TV episode. In the original like proto-pilot, Marina Baccarin played that part.
Okay.
Because they were friends, basically. So they were all friends. And so Marina Baccarin is actually like really good friends with them. And that probably is what led to...
Did she get Glenn Howerton this role?
She might have. It's possible.
Well, it really doesn't make any sense that he's chasing them and wanting to come with them. He doesn't even know where they're going.
Well, he gets nabbed by some Reavers and tries to use the dentist system on them. It doesn't work. So Mal puts him out of his misery before he could be eaten and or raped to death.
Yeah. That was nice of him.
Mm-hmm. Wash does some great flying after a brief chase scene and picks the crew up. The mule has been upgraded. The mule is now a hover mule and slides right into Serenity's cargo bay. Simon is mad that River went on the mission with the crew. And after...
He is so mad. Doesn't he punch Mal?
He does.
Okay.
And then says they are going to get off at the crew's next stop.
So this is where I really started to feel like this does not seem right. First, we have Simon punching Mal and being so angry, which I guess in some ways does make sense because he's obviously very protective of River. That tracks, but their relationship has been pretty good. And the series ended with Mal protecting River and wanting her to stay on Serenity. So that doesn't make sense. Then they get to the planet that they're going to. And Zoe is like, you shouldn't have kicked that random guy off of the hovercraft. And Mal's like, there's only room for 4 people. And Zoe says, we could have gotten rid of the payload. I'm like, no, Zoe would never say that. Then we cut to Kaylee saying that Mal is going to drive everyone off the ship like he did Inara and now Simon and River. And I'm like, no, Kaylee would never say that.
Well, I mean, I could see that.
Kaylee loves Mal.
That's true.
She would never say he's going to push everybody away. She says that. And
it's a little expository, yeah.
Yeah, no. I'm like, none of this makes any sense to me. Who are these people?
It's like Firefly cosplay.
Yeah.
It's like the movie is its own fan fiction.
I did really like the moment, though, where when Zoe is trying to be like, you could have saved him. And Mal says, we can only have 4 people. Who should I have sacrificed? You? Jane? And I was like, yeah, sacrifice Jane. And then he was like, well, Jane.
I did like the part in the chase when he's like, you don't let them take me. And then you see Mal aiming at the cable that's got Jane through the leg. And he's like, well, not yet.
Yeah.
We find out that Inara has left through some video footage that Mal watches. It looks like it takes place shortly after Objects in Space because it's footage of Inara packing up her shuttle. The crew lands on the Blade Runner planet.
Yeah. Okay.
It looks very much like there's a lot of neon and stuff.
Haven't seen it.
It's crazy to me that you haven't seen Blade Runner.
You do know we have a podcast because I haven't seen a lot of movies, right?
All right, fair. I like the scene of Kaylee saying goodbye to Simon and giving him advice about surviving on their own. It's really cute.
Yeah.
Basically giving him just basic survival advice, but then at the end she gets into her mechanical nerd.
Yeah, don't get on a ship that uses, I forget
Some
what
kind
it
of
is,
engine, yeah.
but because they fall right out of the
They
sky.
fall right out of the sky. Did you notice Jill State was her normal weight? So if Kaylee was
didn't
looking,
really notice.
she looks pretty thin comparatively. She's a very slight
Yeah.
woman. So even though Kaylee as a character in Firefly is still a very small girl, she's even smaller. The gang goes to meet twins Fanti and Mingo. I liked, if you're going to introduce new characters in the movie instead of maybe bringing back Badger or somebody like that, these are colorful, fun characters.
Yeah.
They have this movie has, what this movie has? It has kind of a Star Wars feel. And I think Joss Whedon was probably emulating that a little bit.
I mean, I've only seen 4 Star Wars things.
Are you counting the battle for Endor?
I am counting the Battle for Endor. It's a Star Wars movie.
I liked there was a nice little touch about the woman so they could do business. You could see that there's a security feed and there's a woman who just stands with a fan in the way so they're not being recorded for the security feed. I thought that was a nice little touch. River wanders into the bar and notices a Fruity Odie bar commercial, which triggers her, and she starts beating up everyone.
Everybody.
The action scenes, I mentioned this earlier, but the action scenes really do take advantage of Summer Glau, and she moves like a dancer for her fight sequences, which is pretty nuts.
She says, Miranda, and then she just goes ham.
Yes. I like Jane tries to wrestle her and she ends up taking him down by just squeezing the shit out of his nuts.
When he goes to grab her to try to stop her, he says, "It's River, it's me." I'm like, that wouldn't
Don't
help.
ram it, it's me, woman.
That would not help. You are not reassuring.
She ends up pulling a gun and Mal gets his out in time and they have a Mexican standoff, but then Simon runs in and says a safe word that causes River to pass out. Kind of makes me wonder where Simon was this whole time while she was beating up everyone else.
Yeah, and also why didn't he use that safe word before when she was also doing other wild things?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would have come in handy at the time that she had the gun.
Yeah.
So the operative catches Mal on the security feed picking River up and identifies him as Malcolm Reynolds and is able to track down who he is. So the crew goes and they discuss River's situation. We get a little bit of an exposition dump and they discuss what Miranda might be, and none of them know.
I have another note here that I don't know what I meant. I wrote, Jane, you're an idiot.
It's an evergreen thought.
Okay.
Oh, I know why, because they're talking about the safe word and Simon starts to say the safe word and Jane gets up and tries to run away before he says it.
And then someone says, it only works on River. And it's really funny.
Well, I know that now. So they decide that no one knows what happened exactly. So they need to go see their friend, Mr. Universe, played by David Krumholtz.
David Krumholtz.
How do you know David Krumholtz?
Okay, well,
he's just a that guy to me.
He is kind of a that guy. He was in the Santa Claus franchise.
Ah, yeah.
He also was on an episode of Law and Order SVU that I knew pretty well. It was a really good one.
Okay.
There are some episodes I know better than others because they're really good, and that was one of them. And I don't know, my mom watched Numbers, which he was on. I never really watched it, but I saw it.
He was one of the main characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do feel like he's a that
was
guy.
He Johnny Numbers?
Yeah, Mr. Johnny Numbers. And I do feel like he's just in other things. And I'm like, oh, David Krumholtz. There you are. He's Mr. Universe. And I was like, Greg Universe? That's Steven Universe's father.
Right. No.
I wished it was Greg Universe.
Aw.
Because I love him.
No, he's just Mr. Universe.
Okay.
No relation.
No, okay, sure.
Or like a distant cousin. He is, I don't know how he has his own planet, moon, asteroid.
I don't get what's
it is.
going on with him. He's an interesting character that just doesn't get a lot of explanation.
Yeah. I thought the way they introduced him, I thought, when I saw the movie, I'm like, oh, he must have been a big part of the show. No.
Nope. No, because they're like, we got to
Wholly
see
new.
Mr. Universe. Like, that is just, okay. Oh, everyone's going to know who that is.
Uh-huh.
No.
It turns out that River completely beating up an entire bar full of people was kept out of the news, but Mr. Universe has his ways of finding things because you can't stop the signal.
You can't stop the signal.
You also find out that Mr. Universe has a sex bot that he has married in a Jewish wedding.
Yeah, well.
Mazel tov. It turns out that the operative buried trigger code in that commercial and sent it out all over in media all over the place. So they were trying to get River to trigger so they could locate her. And it worked.
That's a 1 point for you, operative.
River is having a hard time. She is.
Yeah, she is.
She's going through it. Says she is carrying the memory of Miranda, but it isn't hers and she shouldn't have to carry it. So we don't really know what that means
Yeah.
just yet. Then
Simon says something to her and she gives excellent side eye, but now I can't remember what it is that he says. Do you?
he says, am I talking to Miranda?
Oh, that's right.
We get a shot of Inara at the training monastery. I guess this is where companions go to learn to be companions.
I guess.
This is Companion University. And
It's Buddhist,
yeah. And
not non-denominational.
then we see the operative walking
Yep.
up the stairs and Inara greeting him, not knowing who he is.
And I
it's
wrote-
very menacing.
And said aloud, gasp.
You did say gasp aloud. The ship sets down in a place called Haven and they are greeted by Shepherd Book.
Yay!
I like the idea. This feels like something that the TV show is missing, that they didn't have a home base. They didn't have a place where they could build more relationships or have sets outside of the ship that were like regular sets.
Yeah.
It feels like this is probably something that got left over from a season 2 that would be something
Right.
that they carried forward. So
Because that really is, I'm thinking about the other space shows that we've watched where there is often a place like that. I mean, and there are space stations, but the only time they go to a space station in the show is...
well, the episode where they pick up the dead guy who's not dead.
Yeah, that's true. But no, there is an episode where...
Or Niska's station too.
Yeah. So, but that wasn't like...
Yeah, no, they were all, none of them were friendly places.
Right.
So the crew didn't have a friendly place. I liked that they did a good job establishing Haven as, and part of that is naming it Haven helps. It's really good.
Yes.
It's really good naming shorthand.
Do we know why Shepherd Book is not with them anymore? Because he needs to tend to Haven?
I guess.
Okay.
No, yeah, again, it might be answered in the comics and stuff like that. But as far as anyone knew when the movie came out, you have all the information that everybody had in 2005.
Okay.
Haven is a lively place. Everyone seems to have relationships. You can see Jane greeting people and the rest of the crew greeting other people. Mal has a conversation with Book, and Book tells Mal that because of the trouble they're in, Parliament will be sending an operative, which is trouble you're not ready for. And he tells Mal that Mal won't be able to survive without belief in something. This, I will say, I am of two minds on this. You can see what Whedon was doing with this when you think about the episode Serenity and how it began, because the first time you see Mal in the Battle of Serenity Valley, he's got his cross on his neck and he's kissing it. He makes it very plain that he has faith. And then when you flash forward to 6 years later and they pick up Shepherd Book, he has abandoned his faith. And
He's disillusioned.
He's disillusioned. And he tells Book, no preaching, don't try to proselytize me. And so you can see that this was meant to be Mal's arc over a long term, but it also feels like for the movie, they had to shortcut it
Yeah.
quite a little bit. And it doesn't feel quite as much of a payoff as I think it might have. And if the show had run longer and not jumped the shark or done more horrible things that aged poorly.
Yeah.
River has more nightmares. This time she is flashing back to being at school again and something about they won't lie down. Why won't they lie down? I didn't mention this, but in the flashback, I'm pretty sure that Summer Glau dubbed the voice for the child actress who played young River, because Summer Glau has such a distinctive voice and a distinctive accent. I think that somebody else, but anytime that kid spoke, I'm like, that just sounds like River.
Yeah. I thought the kid had her mannerisms down, but maybe that's because by mannerisms, I meant her vocal mannerisms, and perhaps it was Summer Glau.
Inara sends Mal a wave, and they have an awkward conversation.
A wave? What is it like? That's like a video file or
it's
a
like
call?
a message. Like it's a.
Is it like when we used to wave
call.
at each other on Facebook? Or you could poke people
poking,
you could poke people on Facebook.
It's the evolution of a poke. They mention it, it's a few times in the show they mention a wave. It's their version of call.
Okay.
So if you're far enough away, they might not be live. They might be video messages, but if you're close enough for real-time communication, which apparently they were, you can have an actual face-to-face call.
I do really like this scene because I like that as they're having their call, it keeps cutting to the bridge, and every time we cut to the bridge, another crew member is there watching them talk. First it's Wash and Zoe, and then Jane comes in, and then the next time we cut there, Kaylee is there, and they're just watching and cringing at how badly
they throw food at the monitor when Mal is awkward.
Yeah. It's so cute and fun. It I think is like really, I feel like maybe the only scene that captures that sort of camaraderie and warmth that these characters had in the show.
Yeah, because it's the scene that is not necessarily driving the action, and they don't have to. That's funny, yeah, because it's a scene that's not about what the characters are saying. It's the characters are saying things, and there's a subtext, there's a bit of subterfuge going on where Inara's trying to warn Mal away, and Mal is figuring out that Inara's in trouble, but they also have that relationship and that awkwardness on top of it. And then the rest of the crew knows about that relationship and interacts with it. So it's funny. That's interesting because the rest of the movie has to get from point A to point B and has to drive that plot. So that it's more or less the only time they have for a character beat.
Yeah. And I do also like that after the phone call is over, the wave is over, Mal goes to the bridge and says, it's a trap. And Kaylee doesn't want to believe it because she wants to think that Inara was just reaching out because she misses Mal. And they have this exchange. I think it's with Kaylee where Mal says, did you see us fight? No. Trap.
And I know that one stands out because I believe there's an outtake where the way he says trap, at one point he says it like trap. It's like made everyone break.
It might be the first time I've snorted on mic.
So they go to hopefully rescue Inara.
I also like this moment because when Mal goes into the room where Inara is, I don't know if it's...
Well, hang on. Before we get to that, I like the scene when he says, he takes one of the shuttles and he says, he's telling Zoe, you have the ship, but if things go wrong, you come and rescue me. And she says, what? And risk my ship?
Yeah, that's funny. And then they get there and Mal goes to the room that Inara is in, which I'm not really sure if that's her room or a prayer room because
seems to be a prayer room.
She's praying to a Buddha statue. And then Mal comes in disguised in like a bejeweled veil and he starts treating Buddha like Santa.
Dear Buddha, please give me a pony.
I liked that.
Inara is mad because she was trying to warn them away. And then the operative enters. There are some good lines in this. I like the operative says, I locked on to Serenity's pulse beacon as soon as you hit Atmo, and I can send a dozen missiles to blow her up. And Mal says, "You do that, you best make peace with your dear and fluffy lord."
Because he has
the pulse beacon.
pulse beacon.
Tosses it to the
That was a
operative.
good moment.
The other good moment is it's been a calm conversation and the operative says, "I'm not threatening you. I'm unarmed." And Mal says, "Good." Immediately draws his
Shoots
gun
him.
and just shoots
Yep.
him. "I am, of course, wearing full body armor. I am not a moron."
The operative says something that, like, he's not angry. Mal's not making him angry. And Inara says, "Spend an hour with him."
Yeah. They fight. The operative wipes the floor with Mal. Mal is severely outmatched, but Inara had lit some trick incense that turns out to be a flashbang that floored the operative and allowed Mal and Inara to escape. So the Serenity crew escapes. Inara is on board. There's a line of dialogue. I'm pretty sure Inara says this, and it's a conversation between Inara and Mal, but it felt really on the nose, especially after watching everything back to back. She says, "I want to know who I'm dealing with. I've seen too many versions of you to be sure." And I'm like, okay, yeah, because when you look at Serenity, the pilot, and then the train job and the rest of the series, and then the movie Mal, who is back to kind of being grumpy and almost back to the but almost in a worse way.
I wondered if this Mal was more along the lines of what was originally envisioned.
But yeah, the line, "I've seen too many versions of you to be sure," that felt a little on the nose. The crew bickers a little bit, still talking about what to do with River and Simon. Jane starts a fight and storms off.
My note here is fuck off Jane times 1,000.
Mal is also addlepated about Inara. River has more nightmares. This time it's about a planet and there are reavers on it.
Ooh. There's a moment, I think it's right after the fight between the crew members, where River says something like, "We need to leave the ship," or something like, "We need to not be here." And Kaylee says, "Nobody is saying that." And Wash says, "Nobody but Jane is saying that."
Yeah. Jane decides, I don't know what he was going to do here, but he seems to be going after River with a gun, which you'd think he'd know better at this point. River gets the drop on him and runs from the crew. The crew goes to look for her. I think it's a really good shot where Simon is outside the door to the mess hall and then River appears in the window, kind of like a ethereal sort of alienish character. She opens the door, but before Simon can say anything, she takes him down by hitting him in the throat.
Yes. I was surprised by that. That did shock me.
So Mal finds River in the cockpit, armed, but she is looking at navigation data and she finds the planet Miranda and says, "This is Miranda." So they find that out. She shares it with the crew. It turns out Miranda is a hidden planet that none of them have heard of or know anything about, but there is definitely something hidden there that the Alliance is afraid of. So even though the planet is right on the edge of Reaver territory, they are resolved to go find out. So the crew goes back to Haven to hide out for a little bit, but when they arrive, Haven has been wrecked and burned.
When they arrive, they immediately find a dead kid, which was also very shocking.
It's a good shorthand for you to not like the Alliance and also not feel bad when Mal shoots the one remaining guy who is alive in cold blood. They find Book dying, but apparently Book did get the shot off that downed the Alliance ship that raised Haven. So at least there's that. So with his dying breath, Book entreats Mal to have belief in something. R.I.P. Shepherd Book. That's sad.
I'm very sad.
It's a dramatic scene, but I don't like that. Mal tells someone, I think Jane, to go get the doc. And so Mal is with Book while he's dying. Simon arrives right as Book is gasping his last breath, but then they all just kind of stop there and stare at him after he lets out a breath. And I'm like, dude, you're a doctor. Like, you don't get to stop and have the dramatic stare.
Yeah. No.
He does go
jump into action.
He does jump into action after a minute, but it's the stop and dramatic stare, and I'm like, no.
Time is of the essence here, Simon.
That's not how doctors work. The operative reaches out to Mal and says that if your prey goes to quarry, leave them no quarry to go to.
They think about all of the places that they've gone to hide out after previous heists. And then we see shots of all of these different planets, I guess, where everybody has been killed.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone in any place that the crew may have gone.
So anyone that you liked on the TV show is dead, probably.
Yep.
Except for Yosef Bridge, who somehow survived.
Do we know that for sure?
I don't know. This is a good conversation. This is the scene where the operative is like, I'm a monster. I know I'm a monster. I'm doing this for other people because I know there's no place in this world that I'm building.
He's very self-aware.
Mal says, I don't murder children. And the operative says, I do if I have to.
It's intense.
Again, when you compare the operative to Jubal Early and you're like, this is written by the same guy.
Yeah.
How did you fuck up Jubal Early so much?
I can't even think about it.
The operative gives Mal an idea by saying, you're not a Reaver, and that causes Mal to shut off the transmission and jump into action. Their plan is to make Serenity look like a Reaver ship so they can...
Well, it's Mal's plan that nobody else seems to want to go along with.
Yeah, they're all still grieving their friends that they made in between the show and the movie, apparently.
Yeah. And they're really mad at Mal for suggesting what he does.
Yeah, paint up Serenity with red paint and cover it in bodies, which become skeletons after they go through the atmosphere, and put a gun on the roof of Serenity, it's a transport ship, famously does not have guns. But the plan works, and they are able to sneak past the Reavers in a very tense scene when we see all of the Reaver, I guess, flotilla, armada. I don't know what you would call it.
It's so scary.
Yeah, it's a very tense scene. It works very well. They land on the surface of Miranda, and I like the reveal where it looks like they're just going through kind of a boring concrete structure, but then the camera opens up and you see that it's a full ass city. It's a huge abandoned city. And Zoe says they've passed at least a dozen other cities this size. So this was a huge settlement. It's not the podunk Western moons that we're used to from the TV series. This was meant to be something like a core world. There are lots of dead bodies.
Reminded me of the opening scene of The Stand when the camera pans around all of the people who have died of Captain Trips in the army facility.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It also looked like one of the bodies, because they're in like an office building and they're looking inside and they see all the bodies. And there's one body that looks like Jewel State.
That's funny. I didn't notice that. Because the office building preserved the bodies, then Simon is able to determine that they weren't poisoned necessarily. It seems like they all just laid down and died, and that makes River freak out. They find the beacon, and there is a message from a holographic Sarah Paulson. Sarah Paulson lays out what happened. Miranda was an experiment. They put some chemical in the air processors, which was meant to pacify the population, but it worked too well, and they all just stopped doing anything. They were all completely demotivated and essentially all just died of starvation from lack of doing anything.
Yeah.
But a very small fraction of a percent of the population had the inverse reaction and became uncontrollable rage monsters, and that was Reavers.
Yes.
So it turns out that not only are Reavers real and not mythological stories that people tell kids to spook them, but they are human, and they
were created by the
Alliance.
Yeah. Who is Sarah Paulson? Is she an Alliance?
It seems like she's supposed to be. Yeah,
Okay.
She's supposed to be an Alliance soldier or something like that.
Okay.
This scene is harrowing because of Sarah Paulson's delivery. She says she doesn't have much time and she's not going to survive. And the Reavers are coming after her. She says they did things to the rest of her crew. And then they're breaking in and you just get a glimpse of her trying to shoot at an unseen Reaver, but then trying to shoot herself. But before she can, she gets tackled and you just hear her horrifying screams.
Yes.
It's an effective scene. Sarah Paulson sells the shit out of it because she is a fantastic actor.
Yes,
everyone knows this. It is haunting. Like, I remember being haunted by it the first time I saw the movie. It is, in context of Joss Whedon, problematic.
Yeah.
One of those things, again, where by itself, in any other movie, by any other filmmaker, it would be a good, terrifying, chilling scene. When you have Whedon, who has a history of doing terrible things and inflicting trauma, but specifically on female characters, and you choose this female character to do that to and to make the audience sit through it, you're a serial offender.
Yeah.
You can give him the benefit of the doubt, but honestly, nothing about it would change if it were a male character. If it had a male character delivering that monologue and then having the horrible screams. You can have the guy deliver bone-chilling screams. You know, you watch Saw movies.
Yes, I do.
So, like...
Famously.
There's not any reason why it couldn't have been a dude or a dude-coded character.
I mean, I'm not trying to take work away from women, but it does add a dimension that is uncomfortable.
So they take the holographic message. Mal gives his big "I aim to misbehave" speech with the sun pouring into Serenity's mess hall, and the rest of the crew decides to go ahead and
I wouldn't have even thought there were windows in the mess hall. That's usually a very internal portion of a ship.
No, it's right on the... There's only 2 floors to Serenity.
I guess that's true.
It's not a very large ship. One thing that stood out is you've got, I guess Blue Sun also makes vodka, ? And Jane is drinking the Blue Sun vodka and then passes it to Simon, and Simon takes a drink, and it seems like it's going to be like
everyone's
going to take
a
drink, but it just stops with Simon.
Yeah, that was really weird. I noticed
Simon
that
just
too.
hoards the bottle.
I was like, I thought it was going to be, they're all going to be like, we're in various ways while taking a swig from the bottle. But nope, just Jane and Simon, probably the least 2 likely people to bond in that way.
Right. So the crew radios Mr. Universe, waves Mr. Universe, The crew waves Mr. Universe and tells them they are on the way, but it turns out the operative is already there with a bunch of Alliance goons, and then just immediately murders Mr. Universe as soon as he gets their message and wrecks his shit.
That tracks.
It does track, but also...
His poor widow.
I feel like they could have waited like a minute. Like they could have waited till everything went well before killing him and wrecking everything. Who knows? So the Serenity crew carefully navigates the fleet of Reaper ships again, but right as they are coming out, then Mal opens fire, drawing their attention and causing the Reavers to chase them. The Alliance is waiting.
Why does he open fire?
Well, because as soon as he did, that made the Reavers engage.
Oh, right.
That's
because
their way.
That's what it's intentional.
If you run from Reavers or if you shoot them, then they will immediately engage because they are rage zombies, essentially. So the Alliance is waiting in orbit around Mr. Universe's moon planet, ? Base, whatever.
Yeah, who knows?
Serenity shows up, but then is immediately followed by tons of Reaver ships.
That was a good moment.
It's a very good moment. And then the operative starts saying, just target the Reavers, target everyone, just fire. And big ship firefight breaks out. It's chaotic. It does look good. Serenity is just barely making it through. Wash is being an amazing pilot, and he's chanting a mantra. I am a leaf on the wind. Watch me soar. You look so sad right now.
So sad. There's a moment, something happens, and he says, "It's okay, I'm a leaf on the wind."
A lot of the Alliance ships get taken down. The Operative does manage to make it to an escape pod. Serenity is flying to the surface, but Wash makes it through the chaos, takes the ship out of a very dramatic spin, and barely lands the ship, even though it takes a lot of damage, including shearing off one of the wings and the landing gear. The ship lands and rests, and it's a very quiet, still moment, and Wash repeats his mantra one last time, his final words, "I am a leaf on the wind, watch me." Oh, is this the first time you've cried on the podcast?
I think so.
It is sad. It is very sad.
Alan Tudyk is just so lovable.
He really is. The Wash is such a lovable character.
He was being so cute, and I wasn't
heroic.
Expecting it.
You know, talking it out now, I would say that maybe to contrast, it is earned in that Wash does a heroic thing right before the sudden death. So
True.
It's not that, it's not like I jumped on a grenade or whatever. So it's sudden, but it is after a very heroic moment for Wash. So Wash does get a chance to shine and save the crew and most of the ship.
Yeah.
You know what? Even Jane in this point does get to be a little bit heroic. I like the scene of they're getting strapped in the living area, and Jane is checking their seatbelts before the spin really gets crazy.
Yeah, sure, fine. Who cares?
Strap himself in. So very sad.
Not me. I don't care because I literally wrote, "I don't even care anymore." They can all die now.
Look, this is a nerd rite of passage, okay? I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry you had to go through this, but we all did. Zoe and the rest of the crew pick a place to make a last stand to buy Mal time to get the signal out, bracing for Reavers to come. Mal finds Mr. Universe dead, slumped over the lap of his sex doll wife.
Widow.
His sex doll widow, sorry. But it turns out that he's programmed a message for Mal with his dying breaths.
Yeah, that is coming out of the mouth of his widow.
Yeah.
It's well, all right.
Mal,
sure, why not?
Guy killed me with a sword, Mal. How weird is that?
How weird is that? So funny.
He tells...
I would have laughed if I hadn't been crying.
The Widow Universe tells... The Widow Universe tells Mal about the backup transmitter and power source that they are sure that the Operative missed, so Mal goes after it. Meanwhile, at the fortification, the crew gets ready for their last stand. Simon confesses his feelings for Kaylee. Finally, Kaylee's response is, "You mean to say as sex?"
Kaylee is horny.
She says, "Hell with this. I'm going to live." Yeah, I didn't mention Kaylee's line back at Maidenhead when they get to the bar. "I ain't had nothing twixt my legs weren't run on batteries for better part of a year."
Everybody is flabbergasted
Except
by
for
that.
Jane.
Yeah.
He's like, I could stand to hear a bit more.
I could stand to hear a bit more. Because, of course, he said that because he's disgusting.
Right.
I think I meant to write Kaylee wants to live for sex, but what I wrote was Kaylee wants to leave for sex, which is a totally different choice. If she was like, "I'm out of here," pulling Simon along behind her.
The Operative finds the message from the Widow Universe and pursues Mal. Then when the Reavers show up, the crew is holding their point, but Zoe goes on a rage bender and starts shooting Reavers close up, but that causes her to get sliced in the back and taken out. Did you worry that Zoe was like down for good at this point?
I mean, yes, I will say that when Zoe gets hurt, when Simon gets hurt, yeah, I did think, okay, well, they could die now because we have established that death is a possibility, but also I did not care. Because I like all of them except for Jane, but I didn't like any of them as much as I liked Wash.
Mal and the Operative face off and start their big climactic fight while things look very grim for the crew. Jane gets shot. Kaylee gets incapacitated with those scary looking darts. When you talked about Inara not really having a lot to do, Inara doesn't even get hit.
Yeah.
She doesn't get shot or anything.
She's wearing pants. which is
that
crazy.
That is. She wears dresses for pretty much the rest of the show.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever seen her wearing pants before.
Zoe gives the order to fall back, but the door doesn't close all the way. Simon gets shot when looking for his medical bag, and that's when River says, "You take care of me, Simon. You've always taken care of me. My turn."
Mm-hmm.
River jumps through the gap in the door, throws the medical bag back to the rest of the crew, and shuts the door, and then seemingly is left to her fate
I was not worried.
with the Reavers.
I was not worried about River as much.
Well, we did see her destroy an entire bar.
I
before.
believed that she was going to live.
That is one thing. The cover art in a lot of variations of the poster, it's got River doing kind of a dancey pose with two of the big Reaver swords.
Oh.
And I'm like, if you had seen that, you probably had a knowledge that River was going to cut some fools.
Yeah. That she does.
The fight between the operative and Mal is pretty brutal. The operative tries to use the same move to disable Mal. I did like the scene. The operative pulls his sword and then Mal pulls a screwdriver.
Yeah.
But Mal does get to use the screwdriver on the operative.
Yes, he does.
The operative tries to take Mal out using the same nerve cluster move that incapacitated the scientist in the opening scene, but Mal had that nerve cluster damaged in the war, so he's able to use that to his advantage and turn the tables on the operative.
It seems like he pretends that he's been paralyzed.
Because he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, and then waits for the opportune moment to be like, psych.
So he incapacitates the operative, says he's not going to kill him, he's going to make him watch. So he sends the broadcast out, plays Sarah Paulson's terrible message for the entire system. Apparently.
Traumatizing everybody in the universe.
Yeah, traumatizing everybody in the universe. Watching Sarah Paulson get horribly maimed, assaulted, eaten, whatever.
Yeah.
Or all three.
Simultaneously.
Hopefully not in that order. The operative watches and has his faith shattered.
Did he? No, he says specifically he does not know what the secret is.
Yes.
He says that earlier. He says something like, the secret is not my concern. Keeping it is my concern, or something along those lines.
So he didn't know what he was fighting for. And this is enough. Knowing that the Alliance caused the deaths of 30 million people and the Reavers and covered it up and have kept it from everyone.
Yeah. Well,
that's enough to shatter his faith.
Yeah. Leading me to say, well, maybe you could have questioned what the secret was.
Since you were willing to kill children over it.
Exactly. If finding out what it was has disillusioned you, then I'm concerned that you were just blindly protecting it.
We jump back to River in full action movie mode and ballet murdering all of the Reavers. Mal goes to meet the team and the doors open and they see a bloody and victorious River standing amongst the pile of dead Reavers, not looking entirely unlike Carrie.
Yeah.
Alliance troops burst in, River steadies ready to murder some much easier targets, but the operative tells them to stand down. It's finished. So we have the memorial scene where the crew is mourning their loss. Something that stands out to me now that didn't when I saw the movie in a vacuum is fucking Mr. Universe does not belong.
No, he really doesn't. Mr.
Got...
Universe, Shepherd Book, and Wash.
So it's like Shepherd Book, Wash, and this fucking guy.
Yeah.
Why
no,
are
thank
you. But he's the first one you see too.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like they did show them in order of importance from least to greatest, but still, he should be somewhere else. The
crew patches up Serenity and de-reavers her. Simon and Kaylee finally hook up with River being a little bit of a perv in the background.
That's your brother.
Well, she is weird.
Yeah.
Mal and the operative have one final conversation where the operative says that he's told the Alliance that River and Simon Tam are no longer a threat because the information is out there. There's uncertainty about what's going to happen to the government, but it doesn't matter because he believes they know that he is no longer their man. And And Mal says, I aim to kill you if I ever see you again. And he says, there is nothing left for you to see. And then he disappears from the movie. Again, fantastic performance. You know, there's things about the movie that don't necessarily work as well as they could, but Chiwetel Ejiofor. Ejiofor?
Ejiofor, I think. I'm pretty sure.
His performance is fantastic. I don't know if he carries the movie, but he definitely, what works about the movie works because of him. Mal and Inara have one final will they, won't they conversation where Inara says she's not sure if she wants to leave the ship or not. And Mal says, good answer.
Not satisfying.
Not satisfying. Mal and River get in the cockpit. Turns out River's actually a talented pilot. She is, in fact, a genius.
Yeah.
And
I don't care. Should be Wash.
And Wash's dinosaurs are still on the controls.
God, that broke my heart.
River and Mal have a little bit of a bonding moment when Mal says, you probably know what I'm going to say. And she says, I know, but I like to hear you say it anyway. And he says, it doesn't matter how good a pilot you are. What you need is love. The almost last lines of the movie are, storm's getting worse. We'll pass through it soon enough. And that's it. Serenity flies off out of the planet of Mr. Universe.
Yeah, I have no idea.
And triumphantly flies off. It's a nice shot. There's a little bit of banjo and a little bit of violin, evoking the score of the TV show a little bit, but still not quite there. And then a piece of the ship flies off and hits the camera. And the last line is Mal going, what was that? And that's Serenity.
Yes. The movie ends and I look over at you. What was my face?
I don't know if I've ever seen you so mad. You'd think that I killed Wash.
I did blame you because I just needed someone to blame. And I know you would never have warned me, but also you should have warned me.
I'm sorry. But that was Serenity. You know, like I said, I think it is a good movie. It's a good action movie. It's a good science fiction action romp. As a last episode to Firefly, it kind of mostly works, but misses on a few things. It is ultimately, you know, it's better than just ending on objects in space.
Yeah, that's true.
It's got a fantastic performance from someone whose name I'm not going to try to pronounce again.
Chiwetel Ejiofor.
It's got some fun character moments, some great quotable lines that are emblematic of the show. And you get to spend a little bit more time with these characters in live action.
Yeah, and then they're violently ripped away from you forever.
Well, you know, you can take my love, take my land, take me where I cannot stand. I don't mind. I'm still free. You can't take the sky from me.
There you go.
Any other closing thoughts?
No, I think that's a really good place to end.
Well, on that note, I'm Dan.
I'm Heather.
And thanks for flying with us. And we'll catch you in the skies next time on Blind Spots and Second Thoughts.